Hello and welcome to another episode of the Board Game Barbecue Podcast. This is episode 249. Thanks for joining us. Proudly brought to you by Adrian Games and our Patreons. They make this show happen each and every week. My name's Dan. I'll be your host for tonight. And I'm joined by two of the hottest podcasters in Australia. From Brisbane, we got Adrian, and from Sydney, we got Jules. How you going, fellas?
I'm doing fantastic. What an intro.
I'm trying to pump you guys up because you both look like crap, to be honest.
That's more accurate. I haven't had a haircut and a shave for a while, so.
I had a shave today, so I'm feeling great, actually. But I have my hood of shame up, so I'm hiding behind that.
Yeah, but I have had a shower.
I know you guys have both been working tirelessly out in the garden, Adrian, and you were at, where were you today, Jules? In Sydney?
I was at the Smash Con. It's just called Smash with an exclamation mark. It's a anime / everything Japanese sort of culture show, really. There's manga, comics for sale. We were teaching people how to play One Piece card game and Dragon Ball Z card game.
Oh, just great.
All the Japanese, manga, anime stuff you can think of was under the one roof at the ICC in Sydney. It was a big show.
Are you much of a fan of One Piece? Has anyone watched One Piece?
No.
Not a single episode.
The only thing I know about it is I've seen the trailer for the new movie that's coming out.
Yeah.
That's all I know about it.
It was quite funny today teaching people, because I do know how to play the One Piece card game now. I've had to learn it for work. And as I was teaching people, they're like, oh, this character, I love this character. I'm like, yeah, good on you. I got no clue.
Finn and I have watched the first, I think, like 30 or 40 episodes, but it's huge. Like that, I think there's hundreds and hundreds of episodes. But I did read something interesting that the new TV show, each episode is more expensive than each episode of Game of Thrones.
Whoa,
so there is a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of money in this thing, but to be honest, Netflix and it's converting anime into live action. And I think every anime converted into live action hasn't been generally well received. So Death Note, Cowboy Bebop, there's probably a few others. But yeah, I mean, hey, I haven't seen it yet, so I can't.
It was going to be CGI handled. Like, I would have thought most of the costs of Game of Thrones was because they were on location. They're all over Europe filming, but One Piece, I just assumed was going to be, what if it was just going to be FX?
FX is expensive.
Yeah, it can be.
It's just ones and zeros. Come on.
A lot of them. Trillions of them.
Well, thanks for joining our manga podcast tonight. Now, let's talk some board games. I thought we'd do something different tonight, guys, and just maybe just go around the grounds and just keep going around. So if there's something, just give a game a shout out and move on to the next person until we can't go on any further, and then we can sizzle something as well. And I'll start with you, Adrian. What's the first game that's been hitting your table this week that you wanted to have a chat about?
Well, I got to play DEI, and I wanted to talk about playing it again, right? And I haven't had the chance to play it again because we played some other games over the weekend. But I did get told that it's actually on BGA in its alpha stages. And granted, there are a few little issues with it that I've had, a few little glitchy kind of bugs. But on the whole, like, it really works phenomenally well. Like, it looks really good. It's very simple to use. The cards and the actions, they make sense because I've already played it before, so I know the iconography enough to blag it. But yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool that a game like that is now on BGA, which isn't like, it's not a huge game. Like, it's not something that's readily available in every shop and talked about ad nauseum by people who like area control games, right?
And that's boardgamearena.com for those of the uninitiated.
Yeah. BGA is Board Game Arena, which is a platform used by people to play turn-based games, or what do they call the other one? Is it live action?
Real time.
There you go. And I'm a big convert for that format now. I do like it a lot. And yeah,
you send me abusive messages when it's my turn on Barrage.
I do. I was like, come on, man.
I'll ask you a question. He goes, I'll tell you once you have your turn on Barrage. Hurry up. I'm like, sorry. Thanks for reminding me.
But yeah, it's really cool to see games like that being put onto a platform that, everyone can essentially have access to. So
do you think BGA is, well, I mean, it's not free. I mean, is it ever free? I mean, I've got a premium account. I think I pay, is it 10?
Only certain amounts of games are free.
Right, yes. So do you think it could be a bit of a collection killer? Because I was just saying to Jules offline that Turing Machine is currently in alpha as well. And once that goes, even just to beta version where I can play it as a premium member, I'll probably sell my copy.
Yeah.
Because it's essentially going to be the same thing.
I think it potentially has that effect for games that have an arduous setup or there's very precise calculations you need to do. So for example, I have heard many times people have put the wrong clue in the wrong spot for Turing Machine, and it's like, no one can get the answer. It's that sort of is a great example of automation just makes that whole thing seamless, and you can really enjoy the essence of the game.
I do like the fact that BGA won't let you do the whole poker table thing where you can play, like Party Poker and those websites where you can play like 8 tables live at the same time. With BGA, it only lets you play one game live. You can play as many as you want, turn-based.
Yeah.
And most of us in the community, we've all got upwards of 10, 20 games going at any one time. But if you want to play real time, I'm pretty sure I let you just play one.
Does it work if you make an alias account?
I don't know, or multiple browsers. I was thinking just as I was saying that, but yeah, look, I've got heaps of games going on. It is a good way to explore new games. I signed up for a game with some of the guys in the community just last week to play Obsession. I never played Obsession before. They invited me and I went, yeah, I'll go. And then I just jumped online and started watching a few playthroughs. All right, let's give this a go. And you're right, because it does actually give you the guidelines, Jules. So it's like I can't make any mistakes. It sort of guides me as to, it's your turn now. You have to pick an event or whatever, and no, you can't choose that one because you haven't got enough reputation points. No, you can't buy that because you can't afford it. So
yeah, I've got a question. So how do I put this? A couple of years ago, there was a good selection of titles on BGA, but at least for me, most of them I'd played before, or I know about them and I wasn't really interested in trying them. But it's getting to the point now where there's heavier and longer and more complex games. Like you said, Obsession, that's, a decently long game to play.
Mirage.
Yeah, that's right. Do you feel like it's becoming somewhat of a tool that you can taste games before you try them? Because I was always someone that wanted to try before I buy. But obviously, you lose that element of being at the tabletop and seeing the components and all that stuff. But do you think there's value in Board Game Arena being becoming more and more, stacked with titles that people can try a lot more before they buy?
Well, for me, the DEI experience on there is not even remotely the same. Right?
Interesting.
It's a flat board on BGA, like it's a flat looking thing. You do have the different levels, but they're outlined by a line on a digital screen, whereas DEI on the table, it is a 3D map. It is like pieces glued together to give elevation, and you build these bridges from piece to piece, and it looks fantastic on the table. And I mean, I'm only playing at 2 players, so it's a little bit different. It just shrinks the map down, right? The map scales for different player counts. But I don't know, like, Jules, you love area control games, and it's just not my thing, but I've just enjoyed this one for whatever reason. And there's something about, I don't know what it is. It's something about looking at other players in the face when you're doing moves that screw them out of stuff. Like, it's a weird, I don't like it. But
I love that. I live for that moment.
I'm getting more used to it. And it's like, hey, look, if I don't do this, I'm going to lose. So I have to push you back and force you out of this position. And I think you just don't get that in BJ.
Yeah.
But as a means to give it a quick overview or a quick taste or a quick try, maybe it's a good tool for that. But I prefer that 3D element, that Tabletop Simulator, which is another board game app on Steam. I prefer that 3D element when I'm doing those tests for games, when I'm trying to see how it feels, when you can see that 3D element a little bit better.
Yeah, most of the games, to be fair, most of the games that I play on BGA are really those quick, snappy games. And so I don't mind the fact that I'm playing against a faceless person, but you do miss that. Like if I could play an 8-player 6-nimped on BGA or an 8-player in person, I would obviously much prefer in person because you get those moments of snap and no.
Yeah,
Whereas it's just crickets when you play online, radio silence, and you just do the moves, and you just have to stew in your own disappointment, and no one else gets to sort of revel in it, or vice versa. So, but there's other games that I wouldn't have a chance to play against other people, like playing a 5-player. A 5-player Architects or a 4-player Barrage or something on the regular. I wouldn't get the chance to do that if it wasn't for BGA. And if it's an easier way to sort of cut my teeth on those games as well and make mistakes, learn what other people's doing, and just go, okay, restart, off we go again, and I'll learn from my mistakes. Or I just send Adrian messages going, here's a screenshot of the table at the moment. What can I do? Because I don't know what to do next.
No, you were like, why can't I go there?
Oh, yeah, that's happened?
Right. What can't I do that? And I was like, because of this and because of that.
Yeah.
But that's because I knew the game. Like, if I didn't know the game, I wouldn't be able to help. But that is another good thing about it, I suppose, is that you can learn these things and learn these mistakes. Because I have to say, in DEI, I think that we got a rule wrong, but I'll have to clarify it. But noticing how I played it on this, I was like, I don't think we did that when we played it. But I will try and ask the group that I play with to try and remember it and confirm. But that is a good benefit, is that you might notice things that you've done wrong in the past and go, oh, hang on, I can't do that. Okay, that I get it. Like, I understand that rule completely now.
Do we know what DEI stands for?
It stands for Divide et Impera, which essentially is Latin for divide and conquer.
There you go.
Yeah. But yeah, I sizzled it. It's a good game. It's definitely worth checking out. If you like area control games, it's a really hard game to get hold of because it was a Kickstarter exclusive as far as I'm aware.
Yeah.
And like I said on the last episode, there's probably many people that have got this just sitting on their shelves that they haven't got the chance to play. But it's really quite simple when you start to play it. And when the wheels start moving, it's great.
When I'm next in Brisbane, it's top of my list to play with you, Adrian, because
we love it.
I don't think you actually mentioned last time, it's the same publisher that makes Black Rose Wars.
It is. And it's also the same designer from Barrage, so it's like win-win combo.
That's a good combo.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very cool. What about you, Jules? What's been hitting the table this week?
This week? Yeah, well, actually, whatever hit the table this week, apart from the game days, basically the whole games I played last month in June. I haven't done a lot of gaming because work's been so crazy, but I did get to play some stuff. I got to play Root, which had been a while since I played that, and I played the Woodland Alliance, which is a faction I haven't played for a long time as well. That was great fun. We had a really interesting game of that, actually. We had Woodland Alliance, the Otters. We had, oh goodness me, who were the other factions? The Badgers, the Keepers in Iron, and the last one was, oh man, this is going to stretch my memory. The Vagabond. There we go. Mm-hmm. That combination of factions was so weird. It was definitely one of the weirder games I've played, in that none of them are particularly aggressive, and so playing as the Woodland Alliance, where you want people to get up in your territory and attack your sympathy tokens, there wasn't a whole lot of that going on. And so they're quite, there's obviously a bit of attacking from all factions, but then none of them are particularly aggressive. And so I found it quite a weird dynamic that I'd never had before. Usually you've got the birds that are just pushing as hard as they can in the forest, or the cats doing the same thing. But yeah, I really enjoyed that game. It was really, really good fun. Now, one of the games I wanted to talk about that I hadn't tried before, and I don't know why it's taken me so long because I love abstract games, is This Time You Killed Me. And it was what I expected. It's that chess-like game, but you're playing on 3 boards. You've got the past, present, and future. But it was, I really enjoyed it. And I'm keen to see what the other modules bring. The only one I got to play with was the statues. And so when you push it in the future, it affects the present and the past. Or is it the other way around? No, it's the past. Yeah, if you push it in the past, it knocks on effects and ripples through time. And
you can use it to push people off the board.
Yes.
From a different time.
Yes.
Era or whatever.
Yeah. So it's really fun. Just you really get your head and mind in a twist going, oh, okay, I need to do that. But wait, which way do I need to push that so that it affects this one? And I imagine you can play with multiple modules at once. Is that correct, Dan?
Yes. Yeah.
I think
there's 3 different modules. So I played this with Mike, and we just played the base game. Then we played with the statues, and then another one is there's plants.
Yeah, the trees.
So you drop a seed in the past, and it grows a bush in the present and a tree in the future, I think.
Yeah.
And I don't think we did the third.
I know there's like an elephants one or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that, and I'd be keen to play it again at some point because it's just sort of all you're trying to do is get your opponent out of 2 of the 3 boards to win the game, and it's so funny when you go, oh, I've got them, and then they make a move to go from the past to the future. I think that's the right way, and they make a duplication of themselves. Yep. You're like, dang it. They're back in that zone I just kicked them out of. And it's just so simple and clever that you make a move, you have a little indicator to point towards one of the 3 boards, and you have to make your action in that board. And then once you've done that, you have to point at another board. So your opponent always sees where you're going to go next, and they have to do the best they can to set themselves up for what you might do. It's really fantastic, really great game. I would happily play That Time You Killed Me again. I think it's brilliant.
And the fact that you announce at the end of your turn which board you're going to have your next move, puts you as the other player, or puts both of you in this weird sort of, do I attack or do I defend?
Yes.
Sort of situations. Like, okay, do I attack? Because I know he's obviously he has to do something over there next. What is he going to do? Do I try and do something? But I've already declared that I'm going to be on this board, so I can't. How do I do something to affect that state, whether it's the past or the present or whatever? It's really clever.
Yeah, it's really clever. I think if anyone loves chess, they would absolutely love that game. It's just chess with a few extra things, and because of that, if you were to give a criticism to the game, I could see the pivot point in the game where I really put my opponent on the back foot, because I pushed one of their pieces into one of their own that creates a I can't remember what they call it, but it's like a glitch in time or whatever it is. Having it has to be
called like a time paradox. Sure,
that's it. Yes, that's it. A paradox. So I managed to push one of their pieces into one of their own, creates a paradox, and they both die. That moment, it was so hard for them to then come back. It was just a matter of, unless I made a slip up, which I didn't. I could see that, somewhat like in chess, you get a particular piece taken, it's like, oh boy, it's really hard to come back from here.
Yeah. Not impossible, but back's against the wall.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I would like to try this game because I love stuff to do with time travel and stuff. But
yes.
I do not like chess-like games.
This would twist your noodle then.
I know, but I really want to try it because I like the idea of the time stuff.
Yeah, it's really well done.
The game.
Yeah. I think not next time, but at some point when I've played it a couple more times, I'd almost like to play with a chess clock. So so you've really put the pressure on, because you could totally do that. It's just taking one action on your turn, like chess. And so I think that would really quite be adding a fun element to the game.
Well, speaking of chess, you might remember about 6 months ago I talked about the Storytime chess, which is it's designed at kids to actually teach them the mechanics of chess through a series of mini games. Well, Jack, my 8-year-old, has just started teaching Ollie, my 4.5-year-old, how to play chess, because we've been sending Jack to chess club every Thursday after school. It's just part of after school care. He does chess for an hour and a half, and then we go pick him up at 4:00. So he's been really enjoying that, and he's been talking about it, and then he's been trying to teach Ollie. So they've got a little ritual now where every morning before breakfast, they wake up, they get Storytime chess out, and they've been setting up chess in the playroom and playing chess.
That's great.
Just warms my heart. I hear them just chattering away until someone kicks off. That invariably happens. I've seen queens being snatched off the board, and and I've heard tears and stuff. But it always starts with genuine intentions when they start playing a little bit of chess. So that's really, really cool.
Talking about chess-like games, I actually played a chess-like game this weekend that I liked. And that is actually my sizzling game for this week. even though I did play another game, which I'll talk about after this, but since we're on the topic of chess-like games, so I got to play Santorini. Now, like, it's the same age-old thing that I keep doing. I look at the box and go, I don't like the look of that. Without even playing it. Like, I do it with a lot of games. I'm quite shallow about that, right? I'll give it to you. But I just was like, actually, Matt Woods taught me the game, but Finn actually played it as well. So it was me, Matt Woods, and Finn. We played the game, and when he said it's chess-like, I was like, instantly, I was like, oh god, I shall play anyway. And it was really cool because you actually have all these powers as well that go along with it, which I didn't even realize happened with the game, because Matt said, oh, we'll play it basic at first, but then we'll play it with powers afterwards so you could get the concept of it. And I think Finn was like, no, I want to play it with powers straight away. I want powers, because obviously kids like the powers. Of course. Yeah. Adults like the powers as well, FYI. So anyway, he dealt out our own powers and stuff. And the way the game works, it's like a grid pattern, right? And from memory, I think it might be a 6x6 grid pattern.
Sounds right.
About that, something like that, 6x6 or a 7x7 square with lots of squares inside. And on your turn, you have 2 characters. So when you start the game, you place out your 2 characters on that board space, and it's just a ground level, right? It's just like dirt or an island space. And on your turn, you have to move and then build. And you can, when you move your character from one space to the next, you can then build anywhere in the 9 spaces that are around you. Okay, you can build diagonally as well. And you can also move diagonally. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to build the first level of the building, which let's call that like a foundation, right? And then once you've built that foundation, you want to try and stand on it and then build another foundation next to it and then build another level on top of that. So by the end of the game, you want your character to be on the 3rd level of a building to win it. Okay, so you have to move and build, move and build. But unfortunately, you can get to points in the game where you can cap a building. So when it's on any level, actually, there might have been a power that Finn had that broke the game, but it might be the 3rd. I think maybe you can only cap a 3rd level. Is that correct, Dan?
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Finn, the little turd, had the one where you could cap any level throughout the game. So he was just capping anything. He's like, I'll put a cap on that, I'll put a cap on this. And we were like getting close to building things and getting on top of stuff, but he was just capping stuff off. So it became really frustrating because he didn't try to win the game. He just tried to destroy our game, which he was happy with. And when he still lost, and he was fine with that. He was just happy that the times he could screw us out of it. But yeah, it was so simple, man. Like, it's move and build. But the powers are what make it fun and interesting.
Yeah.
Even to the point of the second game we played, and they're all named after some sort of, I believe, Greek gods or some sort of Greek gods, yeah. Or maybe demigods, Greek demigods. But Finn had one that was like famine, right? That wasn't the name. The name is something else, but essentially it looked like the sort of pestilence, famine type thing. And we couldn't build buildings next to any of his characters.
Oh, wow.
So he sort of blocks out spaces. So he'll move right next to you, and then you can't build. And on your turn, if you can't get away from him enough, you can't build. So it made it quite interesting. And my character on that game was anybody who built around the outside edge of the entire map. Even if you could get onto the 3rd level of a building on that edge, you cannot win the game. So you can't win on the edge. And it got to like, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 turns to the start of it. And Matt had built himself a nice little tower that he was volleying between in the corner. And then he went on the 3rd level, and I was like, you can't win. He's like,
he forgot about your...
I forgot, because we were so worried about Finn's stupid power when we couldn't build, and he kept blocking us in the corner. It was really cool. And it's so good because it's nice to see him competitive in those kind of games with two adults. And I was trying to win. I was trying my best. And it's not easy because it's a chess-like game. It's just like chess where you're just moving once. So in the game, you're only moving one thing and you're trying to add up all the different variables and all the different things. And Matt's power in the game was if on my turn I moved or if Finn moved on his turn, if there was opportunity for us to go up a level on a building, we had to. So if it took us in the direction we didn't want to go, we still had to move in the opposite direction to where we wanted. So what was happening, I can tell you now, it was very frustrating. I was trying to get away from Finn. Matt was building a building. I had to then go on that building on my turn, which put me close to Finn, which meant I couldn't build because I was next to Finn. And it was like impossible to get away from him. Yeah, it was a really, really cool game. I really enjoyed it. Finn actually won the second game because it got to a point where it was either Matt could, I believe, block Finn, and then on a subsequent turn, I could probably get the win. Or he would leave it for me to deal with Finn, which is what happened. He's like, I'm not doing it. I'm leaving it for you. But he would then win on his next turn, right? And I couldn't stop that. So the only thing I could do was I could either block Finn to let Matt have the win or just let Finn win and let him have the victory. And Matt had played, I think, by all means, I believe Matt has played it a bunch. Please, Matt, hit us up on Discord or the Facebook and let us know. But he said that he's never seen this many buildings out before on the map. Like, we built out the entire thing. We had like one base tile left, one middle tile, and like a couple of the threes.
Wow.
We built out so much of the board. It looked like a proper city. It has I've got a picture, so I'll post it up on Facebook. But yeah, it was really good. And it was tense. Like the whole way through, it was constantly trying to figure out where you could go and what you could do. But it's so simple. Like, this is another one of those games where a 7-year-old is competitive. Yep. Do you know what I mean? And that's great. Those games, I'm loving those games more and more. The Gravity Superstars, the Azules, Santorini, like I'm getting more and more into these games as Finn is getting more and more interested in playing them and less interested in being on the Xbox for 12 hours if he can.
That's a win.
So it is a very big win. And you know what? Today we did a whole heap of yard work. We like absolutely knackered. We came in, we had a couple of like, Pepsis or whatever. And he started to look for the game and went, oh, we don't have that game. That's Matt's. He took it home. He wanted to play it again.
Right.
So, for him to do that rather than just go, can I play on Xbox for a bit is a big win.
You'll have to get him a BGA account because it's actually on Board Game Arena.
Oh, I can tell you now, I've already bought it.
Oh, okay.
I bought the game. I bought it because
did you get the Golden Fleece expansion as well?
It is in there, but I mean, I have no interest in doing that at all at the moment. I'm definitely there is so much in this game. Like the depth is insane with the different characters. And something else that I massively appreciated about it was Finn picked that famine character. I don't know if he did it at random or if he just picked the picture of the one he liked. But Matt looked at the rules and I had another character and Finn went away from the table and it turns out that these two characters cannot be in the same game because it breaks the rules.
I was
And they have that in there. They have that information. Like if you pick character X, you cannot have character Y and Z in the game. Otherwise, it's not going to work. It's not balanced. And I think that's amazing and really commendable. And I would not be surprised if they used their data and stuff from BGA as a tool to figure this out, because that is a massive group of people playing that. Thousands of games every single day. Same as Tapestry. That's how Jamie gets a lot of the Tapestry data because they can balance the game out through that. So I reckon that they probably use BGA as a bit of a tool. So, yeah.
Yeah, Santorini's fantastic. I've played it a few times, more than a few times as well. And it just has great visual presence. I will say, if you're going head to head with someone, I find some of the powers, some are stronger than others. And so it's not 100% balanced if you're going head to head.
But you could just ditch the powers if you're going to be playing a Santorini World Cup. you just don't have any powers, right?
Yeah,
Like
and the base
exactly
game
right.
is solid. Yeah, I agree.
So I think if you're going hyper competitive 1-on-1, maybe no powers would be the way you play it. So it's really just a battle of wits and outmaneuvering someone. But it's great.
Yeah.
Or captain's draft, you pick your opponent's power.
Well, that's the thing. That's one thing I was going to say.
Could do that.
I sold a bunch of games at the start of the year, and that was one of the games I sold, Santorini. And it's the only one I actually regret. Almost like a week later, I regretted selling it. Going, I should have hung on to it until Jack was ready to play. So,
he would have loved it.
I think I will still get it again eventually. And I picked up Ragnarok's in their Kickstarter, which I had as a couple of weeks back. I had it as my oath, and then something came up during the episode, and so I deleted it and changed my oath. So I haven't played it yet. I'm familiar with it. I've looked at the rules, and I was going to teach it with Jack. But they have an interesting thing where they've learnt from Santorini. So a lot of the, as I understand, a lot of the gods, and they're Norse gods because it's Ragnarok's, and there's so many in the deck, just like in Santorini. But they have an I pick, you choose. So one player actually picks 2 gods from the deck, but the other person gets to choose which god they have. So that's a bit of a balancing act at the start as well. So you don't want to pick one awesome one and one crappy one because you're not going to end up with that awesome one. And that one's more, again, it's just a 2-player, but it's more of an area control as opposed to just building a single building. But yeah, that's a good sizzle.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen this game around a lot in lots of Instagram photos, and people add Santorini playing it and that kind of thing. But I don't know, it's just that art style and stuff just didn't do anything for me. Like seeing the box, and it just wasn't my jam. But it's definitely worth giving a go if you haven't played it. And this is another one of those ones like Carcassonne, Azul. Like it's just like a staple in the hobby to a degree, and they're a staple for a reason, right? And they're good games. They're solid. And
that's one of the reasons why I regret selling it.
Yep.
I've got some other sort of asymmetric chess-like games that I will never sell. Like on a Tama, for instance. And I've got a bunch of those expansions. That's great. So, but yeah, Santorini was a misstep in my cull. I got a bit sort of cull crazy. I went, I'll sell that, and I'll sell that, and I'll sell that. And I only sold it for maybe $30 or something. But just I regret.
But you know what? The thing about it is that that there's going to keep printing that game. That's not going to be it's not going to.
I got it very early in the piece, and now I think you can get a bigger one with the Golden Fleece expansion as well. I had just the original one when it came out, and it still had a lot of gods in it, but it didn't have the Golden Fleece expansion. I'm going to quickly mention something before we go to Jules for his sizzle, because we've been playing a neat little game called Dungeon Scrawlers that I picked up on sale at Christmas time, thinking it was going to be a fun little. This was back when I was still exploring roll and write. This isn't a roll and write. There's no rolling, but it's it's Dungeons and Dragons. It's got the IP for Dungeons and Dragons, I suppose. Well, it's got the title of Dungeons and Dragons, Dungeon Scrawlers, and what it is, it's a competitive going through a maze with a erasable pen, and there's the game comes with 10 different heavy cards with 10 different mazes, and so you can play 4 players, I think it was 6 players, and you're racing against each other to get to either the end of the maze or get to an objective. And you're going through the maze with your texter, and when you hit a monster, you got to scribble the entire monster out, and that's defeating them. If there's treasures, you got to circle each treasure, and you're going from room to room. Some rooms will have like numbers from 1 to 6 or 1 to 9, and you got to bounce across them 1, 2, 3, 4, like in a star shaped. So it's aimed at kids, it's aimed at families. I've been playing with my boys, and they've been really, really enjoying it because it's just something different for them. It's light, it's fun. There's some of the early maps, you've got a big boss. So once you work your way through the maze, the first person to completely scribble out and essentially kill the big boss shouts stop, and then everyone has to stop. And then you count up all the treasures you collected, all the rooms that you visited where you collected these flowers, which are worth 1 point each. Collecting a treasure is worth 1 point each. If you get to a room with a spell is like almost like a glyph kind of weird shape. And so you have to follow that shape with the pen before you can move on to the next one. So it kind of slows down a little bit. And then you lose points if you start cutting through walls and things. So it really forces you to slow down. It's just harmless fun. It wasn't an expensive game. The further you get into the game, sort of, I think it's like map 3. All the mazes are different, but then there'll be one where they have these golden orbs. There's blue orbs and red orbs, and same thing. You've got to color the entire thing in. But once you've colored the red orb off, there'll be red orbs, physical orbs in the middle of the table, and you take it. And the first person who takes the red orb gets 5 points, and the next one will be worth 4. The next one will be worth 3. So then it adds another element where you're racing against each other, and Jack might go left, Ollie might go straight, I'll go right, and so we're sort of all going in different directions, even though we've got the same essential board. And it's a matter of, I could probably get to the boss quicker, but those guys are way behind. So maybe I'll take this route. I'll take this route instead, and maybe explore a few more rooms before I circle back to the boss. And there's another thing where you get these skeleton keys, and then there's red, blue, green, I think, keys. And then so you get a skeleton key, and then you choose one color key, which you can use for the rest of the game. And then there's prisoners that are locked behind doors. And so then you can go around to this one and actually unlock. Now that you've got the green key, you can go through that door and free that prisoner, and then go back out. And there'll be some doors that are locked with two keys, so you need to collect 2 different skeleton keys before you can go. You can do them. So it's something different. It's a lot of fun. It's over quick. There's some that aren't getting to the final boss. There might not be a boss, but it'll be like just an absolute sort of maze of different rooms and stuff. And you play for 90 seconds, and then once the timer goes off, you stop. And so who collected the most treasures, who fought the most monsters. So, yeah, the boys are really, really enjoying it. There's also 5 different, I say in quotation mark, classes, where the barbarian doesn't have to cross out and cover up the entire monster, only the head, because it's like the barbarian can like cut the monster's head off.
Yeah, right.
The mage doesn't have to trace the glyph to cast the spell. Just going through it is enough to actually cast the spell and things like that. So we did the last time we played it, we actually applied these characters, and Jack wanted to be the barbarian because he just wanted to just cross off the goblin's head and move on. And I gave the spell one to Ollie, so we didn't have to worry about tracing it. He could just pass through it and just keep on flying through the maze. So, yeah, if you're looking for something really light and fun, not too taxing, Dungeon Scrawlers is a lot of fun, and it's all dry erasable, so you just wipe it off and away you go again. Good,
cool.
Good. I thought that was something different that a lot of people may not have heard of. So, yeah. But Jules, you've got something that I'm really interested in hearing about for your sizzle. So,
I'm really excited to talk about it.
Yeah.
So this, I'm talking about Ra. So this is the new Kickstarter edition new Kickstarter edition that arrived not too long ago. Well, actually, maybe it was a couple of months ago now, but I already just haven't had a chance to play it until this past week. So it's not a new game. It's been around a long time. It's just had a new lick of paint and some nice component upgrades. I went with the Deluxe Pharaoh edition, where all the tiles are wood, all the coins are metal, and it's just a tactile delight to play. It is so good. But it's a very simple auctioning and set collection game. So on your turn, all you'll do is you'll either pull a tile from the bag and put it on the market row, or you can invoke Ra, and that starts the auction. And the auction, once you've done that, will go start with the bidding player from your left and go around, and you have the final bid. The really interesting thing about this game, it plays over 3 rounds. So you've got these Ra tiles in the bag as well that can randomly trigger an auction. So it's not just determined by the players. And when that happens, then whoever pulled the Ra tile will be, the one who invoked Ra, and you go around and do your auction. And that progresses a boat on a track, which pushes the end of the game. So what you're trying to do is basically a bit of set collection on your board. You've got these monuments that, if you collect multiple sets of them, you get bonus points. And if you also collect a variety of them, there's another way in which you score points. And then there's sort of peep population, there's flood and Nile tiles that you need. You need flood tiles in order for your Nile tiles to be able to score, but then there's negative tiles as well that cancel out your Nile tiles and your population. So as you go through the game, taking a tile out on your turn, adding it to the auction row, you start to get a whole collection of bits. Some of them are negative, some of them are positive, and you might have things in that market row once an auction started that you really want, but there also might be rounds where there's full of negatives that you don't want to take. But the really cool thing is there's always an extra bidding tile. So at the start of the game, it's predetermined what value of bidding tiles that you have, and they're all off kilter a little bit. So one player will have like the 16, which is the highest in the game. Like they might have a 16, 8, and 4, but the next player might have 15, 10, and 7. And so they might have higher numbers, but not the highest one. It all is quite mathematically balanced. When you are doing the bid for the auction, I should say, for all the tiles that are out currently in the market row, the winner takes everything. You're not bidding on one tile at a time. It's all or nothing. But as well as that, there is a bidding token in the middle of the board. And so the winning bid token goes out on the board, and you take what was there and put it on your board face down, because essentially you can only win 3 auctions in a round. You might not win all 3 because the round could end before you get to do a certain amount of bids because of those random raw tiles. But whatever tiles you end up with are the ones you carry over into the next round. So you might win an auction, right, on, let's say, a 15. Well, suddenly someone might, get 2 tiles in and go, okay, I'm invoking Ra. And it's something that not a lot of people want, and they win that auction with a 2, and suddenly they've got a couple of tiles, but they've got the 15 tile as well, and they've put out the 2 for the next one. So it's really interesting, the tension between, I want those tiles, but that's a really low number auction tile that won't help me win subsequent auctions. And so you're trying to pick your moments and when to invoke Ra or push your luck to see if you can add a few more tiles, and hopefully it comes back round, because you might want to be one of the last people to put your bid in.
Mm-hmm.
It's such a clever game, and once you start to play it, you start to see the depth in there. What I've explained is very, very simple, but just having those moments of trying to go, I really want these tiles, but that vote token's so low, and I don't know if that's going to help me or hinder me in the end game. Because one of the things you can get points for at the end of the game is you add up the value of all your vote tokens. Whoever has the absolute highest total gets a bonus 5 points, and whoever has the lowest loses points. So there's scoring that's done also after each age, but there's also scoring that's only done end game. And so you've got to watch. There's a lot of scoring that involves watching what the other players have got, because there'll be whoever has the most of this gets bonus, whoever has the least loses points. And so you're constantly trying to tug of war between these different sets that you're trying to collect, going, I don't really want those, but I kind of need them so I don't have the least. It's really clever. It's so, so good. It takes very little time to teach people, and I just want to play this game again and again. I've thoroughly enjoyed my play of Ra so far, and I'm super happy. I've got the deluxe edition with all those wooden components. It was an absolute joy to play.
How long does it go for? What is it?
It's not a long game. I think once everyone knows the game, it would be an hour, if that. Okay. Yeah. It snaps around so fast because your turn's like, yep, it's very quick and to decipher and read the board of what's out there. You go, yep, no, I'm just pulling a tile. Bang. Next turn. Yeah, I'm pulling a tile. Bang. It just snaps around the table really, really fast. And it's the same with the voting, because the voting tiles aren't secret. Everyone can see what you've got. And so you might put out, a cheeky 7 because someone had a 6 and a 2. But if they want to beat you, they have to throw their 16 out there. There's lots of moments where you can just push people and make them squirm. I love those moments. You're like, are you really going to make me do this? Are you going to make me bid my 16 because you've put a 7 down, but I'm going to collect a 2 all of a sudden and trade my 16 for a 2? It's fantastic.
Cool.
Yeah, it looks great. I remember even saying on Kickstarter, see the components, and geez, it looks lush.
Oh, it's
just the barrier for me was just auction game. It's like it would not have got to the table. I'm going to have to come up to the Sydney game day and play it with you. It's
probably one of the most lush games that I have in terms of components. It is flawless in its production. The bag is gorgeous. I love everything about it.
And do you know the max player count? Is it 5? Or 6?
5 is the max player count. You can play at 2. I think it would be quite cutthroat at 2. Just having that back and forth of
take that.
Like trying to that back and forth of like winning certain auction tiles, so you're probably going to win 2 of the 3 auctions against your opponent. There might be some extra 2-player rules I haven't had a chance to read in the rule book, but I think this is a game that shines at max player count. I really enjoyed. I think we did play at 5-player, and it was thoroughly enjoyable. So that's Ra by Rainer Knizia.
Wow. The old Rainer Knizia. Never fails.
No, he can't do much wrong.
Well, we'll round it out tonight with my Sizzler. My Sizzler was actually it doubles because it was my oath from last time I was on the show as well. So I had the opportunity to teach at the last Melbourne Game Day Inside Job. So we're all on a bit of a trick-taking bender at the moment, and Inside Job was a game that I saw reviewed on Dice Tower, and I hadn't seen it retail in Australia, so I jumped on Amazon and ordered a copy, and it came within probably a week and a half. And it's great. It is a trick-taker game. We played with 5 people, but there is a traitor amongst you at the same time. So I think the crew, but there's a traitor.
Okay.
So when you're playing a trick taker, and as is with the crew and some other trick takers, where you can't talk about what you're actually playing, and someone plays a card and you go, "Oh, why did you play that?" Well, with this game, when someone does something, you go, "Why did you play that? Are you the traitor, or are you just not picking up what I'm putting down?" So the way it works is there are these agent cards, and there are the trader cards. They all get shuffled in. So 5 players. We started off just a base game. We had four agent cards and then the trader card, and we shuffled them up, and everyone got a roll to start the game with. And then you get dealt 10 cards, and much like just a normal trick taker, someone starts. But before you start playing, and everyone has to follow the suit of the card that leads, we reveal the first mission. And the mission might be something like the last player has to win the trick. Or it might be the first player has to win the trick. It might be the third player has to win the trick. There might be things like, I'm just going to have a quick look. Every card that's played must be higher than the last card in the trick. So in order to, and so there'll be a winner of the trick, and that person who wins the trick gets to lead the next trick. And when you win the trick, you win a little briefcase token. But in order for the mission to be successful, that you must when the trick is won, it must be won meeting that condition. And for 5 players, the agents, the 4 people, must successfully achieve 6 out of the 10 tricks. If they don't successfully meet 6, and if you fail the mission, it just goes away and you reveal a new mission. The mission card also alternates and has a different trump card. So the mission might be that every card as it's played must be higher than the last, and the trump is yellow. And the next one might be the last player must win the trick, and the trump is blue. So the trump is constantly changing. So the agents try to work together to make sure they successfully achieve 6 missions out of the 10 cards you've got. In fact, there's 2 rounds you don't do. There's also, if you get 4 briefcases in front of you, you reveal what you are. And so, of course, if the trader manages to win 4 tricks, they'll go, "Ha, I'm the traitor, suckers."
Nice.
If neither of those 2 conditions are met, so that the agents don't successfully achieve 6 missions, and no one or the trader doesn't successfully win 4 tricks and therefore win 4 briefcases, then at the end, everyone votes on who they think it is. So then it comes down to, well, I think you've been doing some dodgy stuff, and there's little telltale signs which start casting suspicion. So when you win a trick and it's your turn to lead off on a trick, what you do is you draw 2 missions and you choose which mission you actually play.
Okay.
So if I'm the trader, I want the mission that says the trader, the first player wins the trick. I'll choose that mission, and then I'll lead out with the 10, knowing that no one can beat it. Or I'll lead out with the 10, and I'll lead out with the 10 that is the trump. So then I know no one can beat it. I'm going to win. I'm going to get another briefcase, and then I choose again. It was just really, really funny. We really enjoyed it when we played it. Everyone's casting suspicions at everyone else. Like, oh, don't let him get a third one. Don't let him get a fourth briefcase. We don't trust him. But then the game comes with a whole bunch of different roles that you can start to mix in as you go. So there's one called the bugged agent. If you have more than one intel token at any time during the game, the insider wins immediately and all agents lose. So if you're the bugged agent, you actually have to reveal that at the start of the game, and so everyone is trying to make sure that you don't win any games.
That's really clever
because you're bugged, and then the insider is going to win. But then the insider might go, well, we're going to play this mission so that in order for this mission to be successful, Jules needs to win the trick.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, no, why did you do that? It's like, sorry, I didn't mean it. It's like, yeah, rubbish, you didn't mean it. You know. And so everyone's accusing everyone. We're supposed to be on the same side, but there's just accusations flying left, right, and center. I booked this for between 7 and 8 o'clock, and we played till after 9 at the game day.
Wow.
We just go, all right, let's go again. And people were coming over and watching, and we really mixed things up with some of the roles and stuff. But it's just a really interesting take on the old trick taker, but just throwing a traitor mechanic in there as well and making everyone second guess each other as to why did they play it like that? Why did they choose it? Why didn't you play the trump? Oh, and the other rule I forgot to mention is if you're the insider and not one of the agents, you don't have to follow suit.
Oh, of course, yes. Okay, that's brilliant.
The only thing is, and if you're, I'm just having a look here. When you play 10 players, you have 4 players. Everyone gets 10 cards, and there's 1 card you don't use, so you only play nine rounds. So if you're saying, I'm sorry, I'll play this because I haven't got any pink cards, but you do have a pink card, you can hang that back in reserve. And just remember, don't play it, because then everyone's going to go, hang on a second, you said you didn't have any pink
so careful.
Yeah. So that's element as well. So yeah, keep an eye out for Inside Job, because we really, really, really enjoyed it. Like I said, we're only going to play it for an hour, and we played it for over 2 hours.
Wow.
At the game. We had a hell of a lot of fun with that.
Nice.
So that's our sizzles for tonight. Santorini, Ra, and Inside Job.
If you're looking for a new board game, you need to check out adventgames.com.au. They have a great range of games, including pre-orders and hot new games. Anything you could be looking for will be there at Advent. Dean provides excellent customer service that is second to none, and he's always keen to support the Australian board game community through events, game days, and even through sponsoring a podcast. So head over to adventgames.com.au today. That's adventgames.com.au.
So what I thought we'd do quickly is we'll just quickly talk about, because we can talk about it now, and it's the 3rd annual Board Game Barbecue Awards. We put the video on YouTube. Thanks to everyone who's already checked it out. If you haven't, head over to our YouTube channel. The team put a lot of work into that, and we've got some special guests. I suppose we can talk about the special guests on the show as well.
Yeah.
We're really, really thrilled to what we thought we'd do this year is kind of like when the Oscars announce each category. Before the categories are announced, they have a little package. And so we recruited some friends of the show to put together a package about Martin Gonzalez from Martin's Print and Play Hideaway on Facebook. He talked about how he got into solo gaming. We had Carla and Melanie from the Board Game Specialist podcast in Canada, who are great friends of ours, and you can check out one of their episodes. They always do top 9s. They weren't happy that I said, no, you can't do a top 9. Just talk about your favorite best artwork. And then they threw to Jules to announce the best artwork category. We had our friends Nerds of the West over in WA. We had the Board Game Gateway podcast talk about light games. We had Paul Grogan talking about heavy games. We had Thinkathema, Amy and Maggie, talking about midweight games and medium weight games, and them just what they thought a medium weight game was, which is a bit of a stretch. Who else do we have? And then we finished with game night. So we had Lincoln and Nikki and Dave and Deborah doing a little package for us there. Did I forget everyone? Oh, that's right.
Maybe.
There was some clowns from Tassie as well on a podcast called Dice Men Cometh that found it in their very, very light schedule to film something for us as well about expansions. So thanks to the boys down at Dice Men Cometh for doing that. So yeah, we had a lot of fun with the awards and the winners. If you haven't caught up, haven't caught up speeds, the winner for best light game was Cat in the Box Deluxe Edition, another trick taker.
Mm-hmm.
These were all voted by our Patreons. Best medium weight game was Carnegie. Best heavy game was Weather Machine. Best solo game went to ISS Vanguard.
The John Company people won't be happy about that, I don't think.
About
the heavy game.
Solo.
About
Okay.
Game, yeah.
Bit bitter.
Well, we don't talk about firsts and seconds and stuff, but
No.
yeah, I think it was Shotan. He did a heavy campaign on our Discord to try and get everyone to vote for John Company.
He thought he was still playing John Company. Like, it was almost like he was playing like a meta version. Yeah.
Yeah. But no, that went to Weather Machine. Best party game went to Ready, Set, Bet by Don DeClaire. Best expansion was Dune Imperium Rise of Ix. In fact, we had two. There were two Dune Imperium expansions in contention. Best artwork went to Weather Machine, Ian O'Toole's artwork on that one. And Game of the Year went to John Company 2nd Edition, which was a bit of a surprise. It wasn't it was one of the things that I was, and every year when we do this, we throw, for those who aren't aware, we throw it open to the community and say, you can nominate whatever game you want, as long as it falls within the certain rules of the category. Light, medium, and heavy are the only ones that really have specific rules in terms of the weight. And as long as it's a game that came out in 2022. So, and previous winners can't be awarded if they've changed their dates or whatever. But anyway, anything can be nominated, but it's the actual, once the most popular nominations then become the actual nominees. And it's our Patreons, our community, that actually votes. And every year, you might on the outside look and go, oh, that's some strange winners, but we know our community, and I think the winners were kind of reflective of what people are talking about in our Discord. Yeah. People are talking about in our Facebook and Instagram and Twitter communities, and so I was really pleased to see some of those winners. There was a really good spread of games. So
I think that
Game of the Year.
John Company. I think John Company is just so fresh. Do you know what I mean? It's a fresh game. It's not like anything else. Mm-hmm. And I think that is a good reason to give it a Game of the Year award, because it isn't just a worker placement game that's done really well or hybrid of two different mechanics or whatever. It really is something fresh out of the box.
Oh, yeah.
Obviously, this is the third year we've done it. The first 2 years, the games that were up for Game of the Year were either sort of medium or generally heavy games. This year we had a light game. We had Foundations of Rome in there as Game of the Year as well, which was nominated. So obviously the community is really, really behind that one. I don't want to give away how many who got what votes, but I can say Game of the Year was actually close. Best artwork was actually close as well. All credit to Ian O'Toole with Weather Machine, but there was a nice sort of, if I was to look at a pie chart, for instance, there was a really nice distribution of equal sort of good sized votes for all the nominees for best artwork. So there was Endless Winter, Paleo Americans, Flamecraft, Merchants of the Dark Road, Wonderland's War, Weather Machine, like all games that had really, really striking and quite different artwork for those 2022 games last year. Medium weight and heavy games were actually really, really close as well. So yeah, look, it was great. And thanks for everyone to getting behind it and putting in your nominations and the Patreons for voting. It's great to see.
Mentioning the art there, for me personally, that's my favorite Miko art and my favorite Ian O'Toole art. Do you know what I mean? So they for them both to be in there and doing quite well is quite nice to see, because they're both brilliant in different ways. So it's the second time that a Vital Lacerda game has actually won dual awards at one of our ceremonies. So the first year we did it, it won best on Mars, won best heavy and Game of the Year.
Yeah.
And this year Weather Machine won best heavy and best artwork, and didn't actually feature in the Game of the Year nominations, surprisingly.
Yeah.
So, and we had a Game of the Year that wasn't actually a winner of a previous category. So
there you go.
Just really interesting sort of behind the scenes stuff when we do these awards, and we will do them again next year. So thanks for everyone for getting on board and supporting. And for all the winners out there, your actual physical award is in the mail. So keep an eye out for that. And we'd love to see you guys, the winners, actually posting with their Board Game Barbecue spatula.
Yes.
With the award engraved in it. Hopefully they'll post it on their socials. Actually, what we'll quickly announce it. The Patreon pub quiz is back. For all of our Patreons out there, we did a Jackbox, a special Jackbox, just last weekend, actually.
Yeah, it was.
We did a US-based, so a US-friendly time zone for our Patreons. Jace did another Jackbox game, so that was great fun. Thanks for everyone who joined in. And this month it's a Patreon pub quiz, and I've handed over the trivia reins to to Chris in our community. I think it was on the back of the Jackbox Games night that Jason did in May, and then Chris reached out going, "Hey, can I do a trivia?" I'm like, "I've already got one ready to go, but you know what? If you want to do one, go ahead." So Jace is actually going to do the next trivia. It's at the end of the month, end of July. So the details are on our Discord, because that's where we'll be holding the Patreon pub trivia. And it's not just board games. So if you're a bit, okay, I'd love to join in, but I don't know a lot about board games. I'm just new to the hobby. I'm pretty sure some of the categories, there'll be movies and TV and music and all those sorts of stuff. And then I've got one ready to go as well, and I'll be doing that later in the year. So there'll be another Patreon pub quiz later in the year if you want to join on that. And speaking of Patrons, it's a great opportunity to mention a big thank you to all of our Patreons who support this show. And if you want to help support the podcast as well, you can always go to patreon.com/Board Game Barbecue, and you can sign up and donate and get access to exclusive podcast episodes that we do. Adrian, you and Connor did one just the other day, an exclusive Patreon podcast.
We did. It was linked into episode 248 in discussion to video games and board games and where they collide and how we feel about both of those. It was good. Awesome. It was fun. Yep. I like talking about random rubbish with Connor, so it's always fun.
Yeah, so sign up to Patreon and get exclusive access to all of Adrian's ramblings and midnight shower thoughts. Well, not midnight that showers, but midnight thoughts and shower thoughts. And as well as that, there's obviously the different Patreon events that we organise. But there's plenty of ways to support the podcast without donating. You can go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star rating and a review for us, or Spotify's new star rating system. It only takes a few seconds to leave it, but it also helps with all the algorithms and it pushes us to the top. So if someone's looking for a particular podcast that's on board games, then it might put us front and center. You can also get involved in the Board Game Barbecue community by joining our Facebook page, our Facebook community, following us on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. Obviously, if you go there to watch the awards, then stick around and check out some of the other reviews and gameplays we've got on there. There's, of course, our Discord community where you can join the conversation. There's always games going on. People are starting to do play tests and looking for people to play with on TTS and BGA. And one thing that Mitch always mentions that quite often I forget is word of mouth. If you're enjoying our podcast, please tell your friends. Tell them about the game days. Tell them about the events that we're doing, and recruit them to the cult that is the Board Game Barbecue. All the links are in the show notes. Now, Adrian, you've done a. Did you organise this? What I'm about to read out, the review. Did you have a hand in this?
Literally didn't have a hand. No,
so I think what's happened is you've gone a bit heavy on. Hey, Dan will read out a review if you leave a review on Apple iTunes, and we've got this. We got one come through from Ace Leo Ace, 5-star review. So thanks, Ace Leo Ace, and this is his review. I, Dan Harris, swear an oath to play Monopoly on Tabletop Simulator with Adrian, Mitch, and as many other of the team as I can get. We will not read the rulebook, and we will play with all the house rules we can remember from back in the day. We will not flip the table until at least half the players have gone bankrupt. This is an actual oath and bears the same weight as any other oath given on the show. Again, this is me, Dan Harris. Thank you for listening to my oath.
That's brilliant.
It is brilliant. When I read it, I was confused, and I was like, hang on, this is genius.
So, Ace Leo Ace, thank you very much for the review, and thanks for stitching me up. But you know what? It does say Adrian and Mitch in there as well. And
I know, why me?
Because you thought
why am I on there?
Because you thought it was so funny, Jules. You're in it as well, my friend.
I was going to say, I'm pretty sure in our constitution it says the oaths must come from our own mouths.
He said it. He just said it himself. So it's fine. That's his.
I think Ace got me on a technicality there.
Oh dear, that's brilliant.
So thanks very much, Ace, and we'll see. You know what? Maybe we can do it as a special Patreon episode. Maybe we can play Monopoly as a Patreon episode. Get a few drinks.
It's got to be on Tabletop Simulator so we can do the actual table flip.
Oh, 100%. I think I get dibs on doing a table flip as well. So anyway, that's actually pretty exciting. And speaking of community, that's a perfect segue to talk about our next segment, which is Question of the Pod. Okay, so Question of the Pod. Every week we put out a question to the community and we get some Really, really a great response, and this week was no different. The question last week was, what's the best game that's lived up to the hype? Now, Jules, you were checking out Facebook, some of the contributions over in our Facebook community.
Yeah, so I'll read a few of them off. Again, we had so many contributions, so thank you to everyone that typed something up. I'll start with David Bryson, said PAX Premier 2nd Edition came with sky-high expectations and it delivered. It's a top 10 game for me that creates amazing shared experiences. Nicholas Fallenberg said, Final Girl, I've only played Camp Happy Trails, Frightmare on Maple Lane, and Into the Void. All of them brilliantly capture the horror slasher movie trope.
Nice.
We've had Cindy Sue say Ark Nova for me. At first, I was skeptical hearing about all its hype, but then within my first game and like an hour or so in, it was like, and I was like, this is great, and placed it on order to buy a copy for myself. Since then, I've introduced it to a few friends, and it's been on regular rotation within my gaming circle.
And Cindy actually taught it at the last Melbourne Game Day as well.
Oh, fantastic.
That's how much she loves it.
There you go. I've got Kerry that said, the quest for El Dorado. I love deck building, racing games, and Knizia. So I was super hyped to play. When I finally got around to playing it, it just surpassed expectations. And I've got Madeline Atkins that said Blood on the Clock Tower. I played it for the first time on the weekend just gone after watching many, many playthroughs with a truly invested group. This game is epic. I totally agree.
It is a good one. Like, it's a good one to put on that. It's like, that huge tome, the weight as well, like the wait for that game. I know there was a little bit of a wait for it, but when it came through, it's phenomenal. So.
Well, I can tell you a bit of insider information that there'll be more copies coming into the country, so your local store should be able to order those in the near future.
Oh, we love it. We love a Jules scoop.
And I'll finish off with one more for James Ewing. There was some guy on a podcast who would not stop banging on about Barrage, so I picked it up to try, and I have to say that game lived up to the hype.
Yeah,
I wonder who that guy is. I don't know.
He's all
Isaac
about
Childress. Isaac Childress. That's him.
He did do that.
He did do that.
Adrian, did you check out the Discord this week?
Yeah, on the Discord, we had Honeyman say, the hype around Wingspan made me pretty suspicious for a while, but I find that it lived up to its hype and is now a favorite. Daniel said, June. I watched a Shut Up and Sit Down review. When the reprint came out, I immediately bought a copy. It sat on my shelf for a year while I tried to get enough players, and it was worth every second of the wait. I've played it a couple of times now, and it's always worth the effort. So that's the big June game, which is cool as. Chris said, the game that not only lived up to the hype but exceeded it was Pandemic Legacy Season 1. That campaign was just awesome. The whole Legacy thing was still novel, and opening those boxes and the stickers and changing the rules and the game states, still to this day, my favorite board game created experience rather than player created experience. Yeah, completely agree. I know that Jess said the same thing. A whole bunch of other people said
that was quite a popular response.
For sure. And Manny said, in the same vein as Chris in the comment above, so obviously Discord, we have these comments so people can sort of comment underneath each other. I totally agree with him, but I'll give my vote to Clank Legacy. And it gets that over Pandemic because it's more fun and it iterates on the legacy component by adding just a whole bunch of stuff to unlock and add. I honestly think I've unlocked more stuff in 3 games of Clank Legacy than the entire Pandemic Season 1 game. Controversial.
Yeah.
Gloves off. So, no, cool. I've never tried the Clank games. I've never played a single Clank game. I should try and play one at some point, but yeah.
Yeah, I feel like those legacy games are only sort of, they really sing when you've got quite a large group. Like I know even like with Aeon's End, you can play it with 2 players, then you get to play it again, but an experience with the different characters. But just for that first time going playthrough, you really want to try and get all 4 players to a Pandemic or a Clank Legacy. So great responses from everyone in our Discord, Facebook. There was some on Twitter as well. So thanks to everyone. And we just had a quick chat during the break. And our question of the pod for this week, since we've talked about Santorini, and we talked about That Time You Killed Me. We're all big fans of abstract games. Adrian's a relatively new fan, not big on the chess but he's coming around.
He'll come around.
For those of you that have played abstract games, our question is simple. What's your favorite abstract game? And if you're abstract game curious, then make sure you check out our Facebook community and our Discord and our Twitter and find out some of the responses of people in the community and what games they're recommending. I think I've already said mine. I think my favorite is Onitama. Probably does it just has that chess-like feel. There's two different ways that you can win the game, so you're always sort of eyeing off both of those. But just the way that the 5 different movement styles just rotate through, so you know what's available, you know what your player is going to do. And I've got a couple of the expansions. I've got the wind expansion, and there's a water one or a way of the tiger or something. Got a couple of those. It's even just talking about That Time You Killed Me, Jules, you've just reminded me I should try and get that out and try and teach that to Jack, since he's on his bit of a chess frenzy at the moment. Have you got any other abstract games you want to recommend, Jules, that spring to mind?
So to bring a bit of focus and a bit of context for people when they start responding to this question, I thought I'd just Google and get a few
great idea.
Definitions, I guess you could say, of what an abstract game is. So these really do align with how I think of them. So one could define an abstract game as one that generally has no or minimal narrative, and the outcomes are determined by player choice, and all players have perfect information about the game. And another definition describes it as a game of perfect information with alternating turns and no randomness. So when you start to think about those two bits of information, you really do come to games like chess. Perfect information. It's always taking one move at a time. You've got Go as well, which is a classic.
I didn't know that. It has to have no hidden information.
Yeah.
I never thought about it, to be honest.
Yeah, abstract games typically, obviously there's games that sort of blur the line a little bit, but I think, a traditional abstract game is all the pieces are on the board or on the table, and it's actually totally perfect information. Now, if I was to pick some of my favorites, I reckon Onitama would be up there because, like chess, you've got all the pieces on the board, but also the cards that allow you to move are all visible to everyone. So there is perfect information. It's cool how that information keeps changing hands, but it is perfect information. And I think a critical part of that is no luck as well. So that luck element I was looking through games I've played and I'm like, oh no, there is actually a little bit of luck. So when I think about Castell's actually a perfect information game because you can see every round in the game and what's going to be scoring and where the competitions are. However, there's a bit of luck every second round of what the Castellas that come out on the board and where they get dropped. So I couldn't really specifically define that as an abstract game.
So, sorry, are you saying then Azul wouldn't be also an abstract game?
Yeah, that's really debatable because it's not perfect information from the start of the game.
No.
But it is at the start of a round when you see all the pieces laid out.
Yes.
And so there is a bit of luck in between rounds as to what colors drop because you go, I really need the solid blue ones. And you might have a round where just one gets pulled and someone grabs it before you. And you're like,
That's fine with me. I still can say I don't like any abstract games then, right? This is always going to be mine.
But I think it blurs the line. Yeah. So
there's no hidden information, right? Like you're not hiding it from the
there's no hidden information.
Everyone has the open information that's available to everyone.
Yeah. If I'm going to maybe try to pin my absolute favorite abstract, it probably would be Corridor.
I was just thinking, when you were thinking, I thought Jules is going to pick one of those.
Yeah.
What are those series of games? Because there's Corridor and Quattro and...
Yeah, I can't remember the publisher's name, but yes, it's an abstract series.
Fantastic, those series games.
I think Corridor's probably my favorite, even though what's the one that's kind of like you're trying to make a line? Quarto,
yeah.
Yeah, so Quarto is up there for me. I think Corridor just nudges it out because you have those moments where you set things up and you drop that wall down and your opponent realizes, oh no, I have to walk all the way around. And I really do love that moment. But I think on any given day that could flip flop. Quarto's fantastic, where you hand that piece to your opponent and you just didn't see something, and they go bang. There's the row of 4 attributes. It's fantastic. Those two are absolutely fantastic.
Adrian, do you reckon if we run this question in the pod, we're going to be able to convince you?
Yeah, I think Santorini will be mine, right? Because that's all open information. Nothing changes.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm very happy with that. It's a great game.
Awesome. Well, it's not up to us. Over to you, community. We want to know what your favorite abstract game is. And like I said at the start, if you haven't actually played many abstract games, this is a great opportunity to pick up some tips from the rest of the community. And there's quite a few of them on. We've been talking about BGA quite. We should see if we can get a sponsorship from Board Game Arena. We talk about them a lot on this show, but it is a great way to actually try out new games, as well as all of our game days. But with that being said, we're going to move on to the last segment, which is Swear and Oath is, of course, the part of the show we round out by swearing an oath to do something, get something off our shelf of shame, to play something, to teach something, to paint something. Jules, it's been a while since you've been on the show, but I think you've just ticked off your oath from last time.
I have, yes. It was to play Ra, and I've done it. And I can't wait to play it again.
All right, so what are we going to back it up with this week?
All right, so backing it up this time is I'm going to play a game that was kindly sent to us by VR Distribution, and that is Archaeos Society. So this is a new game that's hit the shelves. It is a retheming of Ethnos, which is a game that had been around for a while. I haven't played Ethnos, so I have absolutely no expectations going into this. This is just a fresh game in my eyes, so I'm keen to see what it is. I have seen a little bit of chatter back and forth in the Discord this past week about the two and the theming, some people preferring one or the other. But to me, I haven't played either game, so I'm just going to judge it for its value and how much I enjoy playing it when it gets to the table. So I, Jules Watson, swear I'll play Archaeos Society by the next time I'm on the podcast.
Very cool. I'm going to quickly go next because I fulfilled my oath as well. My oath was my sizzle, inside job. I swore to play that. So thanks to, it was Scott, Charlotte, Nelly, and Michael who booked in my teach at the last Melbourne Game Day. We played inside job for 2 hours. My next oath is going to be something that popped into my head during the week. I'm really excited. Now, and Adrian can probably attest to me. There's certain milestones you look forward to when you become a dad. So you got something to look forward to, Jules. The first one is probably the first time you get to say, "Hi, hungry, I'm dad."
Oh, yeah.
That's something you always look forward to. The next one is probably the first time you get one of your kids to pull your finger and then you can drop a big fart in front of them. That's always like a real sort of proud dad moment. And my next one is going to be to introduce Hero Quest to my boys.
Oh, wow.
I've got my Hero Quest from when I was a kid. It's sitting in it's up on the top shelf of the Kallax in the playroom, and I haven't even shown it to them yet.
Okay.
I, Dan Harris, swear that I'm going to introduce my boys to Heroes Quest because we're getting to the point now where I'm dying to just create my little DM thing for them.
Excellent.
Jack's ready. He's 8. He's all over it. Ollie's getting there, and so I think Hero Quest is going to be a good way for them to introduce them to a bit of sort of D&D style. Obviously, the pressure's off me as well because it's all mapped out for me with the story and the maps and stuff. But this is a good way for me to sort of gauge their level of interest, and then the next step will be for me to one day create a little, because I've got the D&D starter set. I bought that at PAX like 4 years ago. I think Jack may have been like 3 when I bought it, going one day, my son. So that's what I'm working towards. So my oath before I'm on the pod next is to introduce Hero Quest to my sons.
Very nice.
Hopefully the whole D&D thing will sink its teeth into them, and I'll have more addicts so I can then sort of unleash my creative skills and start DMing for them too. So, Adrian, now I had a look. I'll be honest, I haven't listened to all of last week's episode, but was your oath to play Union Stockyard?
Wow, do you want the long story or what? Like, do you want the short story, the long story?
We're always going to get a long story out of you.
Yeah, exactly. I've never known you to tell a short story.
Meatloaf said it best, 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and I definitely didn't get mine done, all right? Like, Connor's, like, bailed. He's not very well or something. I had to step into this.
Adrian was ringing in.
But I have played the Ratcatcher.
Oh, nice.
And I didn't talk about it earlier. I sort of alluded to talking about another game earlier on. I didn't get around to it. But that's a really, really clever game. Like for a solo-only game and a solo player, massively high production, really like clever in its mechanics. And I'd like to see, hopefully, like fingers crossed, Matt Aslan might even build on that world and do other things. I could imagine playing that co-op as well with 2 different Ratcatchers and getting involved in this kind of sort of semi-co-op play and doing different things. But yeah, I'd like to see where it goes. It's a great game, super interesting. And yeah, I don't know. Like, I thought the game was fantastic and everything, but for me, the more solo games I play, the more I want to play with other people. So I figure that solo is just not my thing. It's not my strong point. But yeah, I didn't get to play Union Stockyard. So that was a long story about the Ratcatcher. Yeah. But Union Stockyard I haven't got to play because I ended up playing Bonfire with the expansion instead on the weekend. So I will talk about that the next time I'm on the podcast and my experience with that. Because that's a game that Adnan Shoitan asked me about it a long time ago when it was hot off the press and said, "Oh, you're going to sizzle it?" And I said, "Nah, I'm not," as a clear indication that I don't really think that much of it. So let's see if my opinion has changed in time and with the expansion stuff. So, but I will not add another oath because I don't have to legally, right? Like, I'm not even supposed to be here.
You've already got the Monopoly on TTS with me and
Monopoly on TTS. That's easy. That's not a problem. We can get that done.
So that's
and then I'd like to play Union Stockyard. Actually, it's sitting over there. I started to play it 3-handed solo this afternoon, and you definitely need to play it with people. And I actually think that 5 players might be a bit too long with 5. So I'll try it with 4, and I'll try and get it played and talk about it later on. So cool. That's me.
Awesome. All right. Well, that brings us to the end of the show. Nice, easy one tonight. Jules, pleasure as always. Adrian,
fantastic.
Thanks so much.
Always, bro.
Always great catching up with you guys talking games. Thanks for listening to episode 249. And we'll be back again next week with the big 250. And don't get your hopes up. I don't think we're doing anything special for 250. half the team aren't here. Mitch is in the UK at the moment. Sarah's in the US.
Def's in Greece.
Yeah, Def's in Europe.
Connor's in
Wall. So you may be just stuck with the 3 of us again, guys. Sorry. So until next time, play more games. Bye.
Bye.
All right, guys, so this is the blues riff in B. Watch me for the changes. Try and keep up.
Sorry, I swore.
That was my joke for the bumper, Adrian. You stepped on it.